G. Ward.
Troy, from your perspective, do you think there was something lacking in your team's play, or was it just that the Griffins were a better team today?
Well, I'd give the Griffins credit first, that there's a better team, you know. Their compete was better out of the gate than ours was. They played a North game and they put pucks to the net. You know, we got kind of exposed on the blue line a little bit. We're pretty young back there right now, and they made it difficult. I thought they had a good push out of the gate. You know, I give them some credit for sure, but obviously I didn't think we played to the level where we played last week for sure.
Talking to them, they're aware of your playoff position. You guys have your backs against the wall. They came out and knew that you guys were going to be desperate. Does that help your cause or hurt your cause, in your opinion?
I mean, if you would have said, like, if you had just said visually, did you see any desperation in the first 20 minutes? I'd say no. I'd say no. Like, I didn't see much push for us, and you know, good group of men. I've said it all year. It wasn't like it's a lack of effort or a lack of care. Like, you know, I don't know. We just didn't have a good push. My experience at this level, which is a lot of years, like, I would say that looked like two teams that were going in different directions. You know, last year at this time we reeled off 11 straight. I would say we felt like that team. Different scenario. This year, you know, Grand Rapids did make the playoffs, and last year, and we did, and it just kind of felt like two different teams. I liked their push. I just didn't really care for ours, to be honest with you.
Troy, you pulled your goalies a few times in the last few games. What is it about Danny and Barry that just isn't working right now?
I don't know, like, it's like the record skips, so we keep changing goalies, like musical chairs. So we just got to, you know, we got to do a good job. And there's two things that are a part of this. There's a young D group that's in front of them, so the exposure is a little bit different than it was the first half. And then there's a goaltending component that hasn't been as good the second half. You know, there's no real excuses, like, but it's an interesting thing, like, and I wouldn't say that this is fair, but, you know, last year we went through it with Leland, had a baby and was up and down, and, you know, it was just a tough stretch for him, you know. And fairness to this year, Danny Taylor's up and down, he's had a baby, and it's been a tough stretch for him. Our goalie in Calgary has had a baby. Talk about trades, like, tough stretch for him. Like, it just seems to be pretty cyclical if you look at the big picture. You know, there's a lot to manage, and sometimes your play is indicative of your lifestyle. And there's a lot going on, and the most celebrated time in their life hasn't been the most celebrated time in goal. And that's been the case here with Danny. You know, he's went up and down like Leland did last year, and he hasn't found his groove the second half. Barry went through a different phase of that. Barry was the guy that wasn't chosen to be the guy to get a contract, so he went through a different phase. So we just haven't been very consistent back there, but I wouldn't blame our goalies. I thought they have represented us well all year, but at the same time they've been through some difficult times the second half. But that's partly them, and I think it's partly on our team.
Ben Walters 6 points away from 50 goals again for the 6th consecutive season.
50 points?
50 points, yes.
Yeah, 50 goals would be nice.
50
we might
points,
be in first
sorry.
place.
And
I'd be drinking all this chocolate milk. Well, not tonight.
Can you just comment on what Ben's meant to you the last few years?
Well, I think Ben is, you know, if you said, does this team have any identity in the city or the franchise, and he's been the consummate pro both on and off the ice. He shows up every night, usually on the score sheet in some fashion. He's one of our leaders. You know, he leads the guys by example. He's a father, and he's a husband, and he's a good man, and he shows up every day. He's a good pro. He's consistent, and that's been the mark that he's set on the ice here for us too. He's been a real good story for the Abbotsford Heat.
Troy, what's the dialogue been like this week between you and the Flames head office and the coaching staff regarding possible moves, non-possible moves, players going up, players coming down?
I would say it's under evaluation. I mean, they're in there playing right now. It's 1-1 in the third with like 10 minutes left. Last night was in there. They're in Vancouver here tomorrow. It wouldn't shock me if they take one or two of our players and put them in that lineup tomorrow night down in Vancouver. Wouldn't shock me at all. That's really our primary focus here, is to develop players and give players an opportunity to go up and play some games. We've had some guys here that are very deserving, this year that haven't went up there yet. You can eventually look at Max Reinhart and certain guys that should get a look and see where they're at. And that's their choice. That's Jay's choice as a general manager along with Bob, and those guys will make that choices, and obviously we'll give them whatever they need. We'll make do, but we've had some discussions about potential for both organizations, where we go and what we're doing to get some guys some experience, for sure. That's been part of the week.
If Jay calls players up, does that give you enough or ample time to adjust your lineup or your roster on the ice here?
A little bit. I mean, we've got kind of like the MASH unit here. We've got like 5 or 6 guys that are skating in the mornings before the team. Like, we've got some guys that are going to come off of IR next week. So, we're a little short right now. We're a little thin right now, obviously. But, there's some guys coming back, and we've got a little extra D. So if we have to, we'll play a D up front. That's kind of our role right now, is just to continue to plug away and facilitate whatever player they want up there. But at the same time, this is a competitive business, and there's a lot at stake for a lot of players. There's a lot at stake for a lot of people that cheer for the Heat and cheer for the Flames. There's a lot of pride on the line, and that's my job, to make sure our players play with that type of character right now. Just because we're shipping players in and out just doesn't mean we show up and wear a jersey. We got to represent this organization, this community, the right way, and that's my job, to make sure that happens.
Tougher some days than others to do that?
Well, for sure, because you're developing young people. You're developing character and different traits right now at a time when there's a lot going on in their life, and it's easy to be an adult and say, this is how hard you should play. Well, it's not that easy for the kids today. Things are a little different in our world. So, you've got to be patient and stay with it and find different methods to make sure that they understand what they're trying to do, both in and out of the game.
Last question, guys. Do you guys have any idea on when Leland or Carter is going to be back in the lineup?
No, Leland's been practicing a little bit. I wouldn't know, I don't really know where Leland stands in this whole thing right now. He opted to have some surgery on his one eye there, and he seems to be close. So I think he's close. Carter Banks is maybe, hopefully, next weekend. Mike Testweed's maybe next weekend. The kid we just got in the trade with the Bouwmeester situation, Mark Kandari's hopefully next weekend. Who else is next? Paul Byron might be tomorrow night. There's another guy that's our energy bunny's been gone a long time. So we've got some bodies that are able to come back here, hopefully, for the last 4, but we won't see. Maybe Byron tomorrow night. We'll see how he does in the morning if he gets cleared.
Coach, what about Brett Kulak?
Brett's doing a really good job. Brett could see the lineup as well. That's a good question. Brett's a draft pick of ours and played down in Vancouver with the Giants this year. He's just a young prospect at 19. But, again, part of our job is to acclimate him to the pro game and make sure he's ready to go eventually and give him as much experience as we can during this time. So he's right in the thick of things as well.
When do you expect to put him in the lineup?
That'll be a little bit of a conversation between Jay and myself and John Weisbrod, and we'll see where he's at. But, he's a guy we all want to get in there. I'm just not quite sure if it'll be tomorrow or if it'll be next weekend. We'll have to wait.
Great. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.